Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with a Varus updated complete guide for the latest patch. So now I have finally played the full AP build without going for Terminus first, and I do think it is indeed the best build. Before we talk too much about it though, don't forget to look up in the cards right now for Varus's basic guide, or updated basic guide I should say, for his skills, level order tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But now with that said, now let's talk about it, right? So taking a look at the top couple of builds, everybody's basically going for this build or some variant. Basically, your first 3 items plus boots are always going to be the same. The last 2 items are a little bit flexible. So now let's talk a little bit about what's going on. So as we know, Varus now with his new passive wants to build attack speed, which is why you're going to build attack speed boots at the beginning. Of course, your attack speed will be converted into AD and AP from your passive, and furthermore, of course, getting more attack speed allows you to put the stacks onto people more quickly, the blight stacks I mean, and then you're going to start off with Nash's Tooth first item. So Nash's Tooth, like Runan's Hurricane, is an adaptive item that gives you either AD or AP, so it's going to actually give you AD because Berserker's Greaves gives you 20 AD, so this will cause Nashers to give you 30 AD instead of AP. Attack speed, of course, and on-hit magic damage, which will definitely come in handy later. Next, go for Runans. Now, likewise, Runan's going to give you 30 AP instead, 15 AD instead of 30 AP. At this point, of course, you're also going to get the 35% attack speed, and then you're going to be able to attack a couple of people at the same time to apply stacks on them as well. So at this point, you have 3 attack speed items and not a whole lot of actual like AD or AP stats, because these items don't give you that much stats. So this is where the next item, Riftmaker, comes in. So Riftmaker gives you 80 AP. Right, that's going to convert Nashers and Runans into AP items, because that's going to overpower the 20 AD you get from Berserker's Greaves. Now, something interesting to note is if you take a look at the build path of Riftmaker, getting 1 Amtome is already going to be 25 AP. So the moment you get 1 Amtome, that's going to overpower the 20 AD you get, and that's going to convert these 2 items into AP the moment you get the Amtome. That's also one of the reasons why you don't want to build Gluttonous Greaves, because that gives you 35 AD, and that means that the Amtome here is not going to convert those 2 items into an AP version. You would actually need to go for, the Fiendish Codex, which actually gives you 35, which is going to be a tie. Now, I'm not sure if it's a tie what you actually get, but with the Hextech Alternator it's 25 only, so that means that you're gonna have to complete the entire Riftmaker to convert it, which is not very good, right? That's why you're also going for Berserker's Greaves instead of going for Gluttonous Greaves. Now with these 3 items plus the boots, you're going to be a really strong champion with a lot of AP, and of course going to be dealing a lot of damage. So your last 2 items are very flexible. So there's a couple of routes you can go down with this. So the first route you can go down is go spec into full like attack speed, right? So you go for a Terminus. Terminus of course gives you even more on-hit damage, attack speed, and AD. Of course the AD is not enough to convert those items back into AD. And you also get stacking resistances and stacking penetrations. Now the stacking penetration here is really nice because of course you only have 7% magic penetration from Riftmaker, and now getting an extra 33% will make you hit the 40% high threshold for magic penetration, right? And then you can also go for defensive items such as Twin Guard, GA. And of course, other than that, you can also go for items like Maw or Wit's End. You can see some of the blokes here did go for Wit's End. And then you have the second option, which is to go for AP, right? So here you can see someone has gone for Infinity Orb. You can also go for anti-shielding, like going for the Oceanid's Trident, and other AP items as well, right? So you can go into full AP after that as well, or, just basically whatever you need, right? Varus is still a pretty flexible champion in terms of build. Now for the runes, of course, with the attack speed, we want Lethal Tempo for the extra range, and as well as the attack speed, and of course it's basically just a standard ADC loadout. Now for the spells, you have Flash together with Cleanse. Of course, Cleanse is really useful against any form of CC. Most games you will probably need it. If you don't, of course, Ghost is an amazing option. Barrier and Exhaust are very viable options as well. Well, with that now said, let's take a look at the gameplay. Okay, so let's take a look at the gameplay itself. Now, of course, as usual, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Of course, you guys know I will be sure to address them. And stay tuned, we have a lot of upcoming content going over a couple of other Varus builds, such as building Varus with Crit. And we also have a lot of other content coming, such as a Draven updated complete guide, some Twitch videos coming along, and things like that. So it's going to be pretty interesting stuff. So anyways, here we're against a Caitlyn Leona. Now with Caitlyn Leona, of course Caitlyn has really high range and Leona has a huge engage potential, which is part of the reason why we've gone for cleanse. Playing against Leona and not going for cleanse, I think is borderline trolling. So we gotta go for that cleanse. So in lane, now I've actually kind of switched strategies. Now I used to recommend leveling up E on level 1, which I still think is alright. But with E level 1, it means you have to take Q level 2 and then W level 3, which means you only spike on level 3. And nowadays I find that a lot of times fights happen at level 1 and level 2, so nowadays I like to take Q level 1 so that I can take W level 2, and then I can get an earlier spike having Q and W at level 2. So you can see here I can get off some autos and then charge up my Q and then go for a little bit of burst damage with the Q and W combo. I mean, whether or not I pop my W or not, just popping the stacks is going to give me extra damage. So nowadays I kind of go for the QWE for the early level. So it kind of really depends on what you prefer and what the kind of situation is like in the game, right? So here you can see Nami and Leona are, not Nami and Leona, Nami and Caitlyn are taking a ton of damage from the poke coming out of myself as well as Nami. Now we are a double poke lane, we're definitely dishing out the poke. And of course Leona doesn't deal with poke very well. It's quite miserable to play engage support into poke, which is exactly what she's doing here, and not really getting any engage as of yet. Caitlyn though can counter poke, but as of now it's 2 poke champions versus 1, so Caitlyn's not having a very good day either. We are definitely in a pretty solid position in lane, but with these kind of poke versus all in lanes, you basically just have to keep poking so that they can't go all in, and also of course have to watch out for the engages, especially when their health is high. Now in this state, I think if they actually go in on us, I think we actually win. But of course if they just come off a reset and Leona's looking to engage, we gotta definitely be careful. So you see they're both like about half HP right now, and I really think that, you know, if they engage on us, they probably die, so they really wouldn't want to do that. But now we have enough for boot, so we can look for a base if we want to. But since we're actually winning the lane pretty hard, we actually want to stay here and make sure they don't base, so that they don't manage to reset their position, right? In a sense that they're going to be at full health, full mana, and getting items when they reset. And since we're winning, we don't want to allow them to do that, right? We want to maintain the status quo. However, Caitlyn walks to a position where we can't actually really stop her, and Master Yi was also spotted on the ward at the Krugs, so we don't want to overextend to stop the bases. Instead, we're going to push in and we're going to base ourselves, allowing us to get both our attack speed boots as well as a Nashor's Talon, just for a little bit of extra AD. So let's talk a little bit of the build, right? So why is going for this build now better than going for the Terminus start? Well, basically, the reason why you want to go for Terminus start, as Caitlyn's getting completely caught out here because Leona desynced the back from her. By the way, guys, I have to point out that this kill is a direct result of us kind of disrupting Caitlyn and Leona's back, which caused them to desync their back timers, which means that Caitlyn is now stuck in the 1v2 when Leona is in base. And this, of course, allowed us to kill the Caitlyn, her getting completely caught out. Right, so why is this build now better than the other, alternative AP build? Now, I think we can all agree that the AP build currently is the best build compared to crit and on hit. Now, I don't think the crit and on hit builds are really that bad. I think they're actually fine. You guys will see those builds in the upcoming videos. I do think that lethality is a horrible build right now. Like, should never be building lethality on Varus pretty much. But why is this one better than the other AP build? Well, the main reason why you want to start off with Terminus is really so that you can get a early game 1 item spike, right? Because Terminus gives you a decent stat line, gives you a decent passive, and really makes you like just decent after you get 1 item. Whereas when you go for something like Nashor's Tooth as a first item, it's just not a very strong first item. You basically get attack speed, a little bit of on-hit damage, and really low stats, right? So why then are we going for this build? Where basically the short story of it is that you can get to your 3 item spike faster. And by that I mean when you go for Nashor's into Runans, you're still going to be pretty weak, but the moment you get that, as Caitlyn's now getting caught out again, we're trying to finish her off. Unfortunately, she's able to flash away, and Master is now coming in, and we're trying to get the kill on Leona to get the reset, but we end up taking a long time to kill her, which then allows Master to kill us under tower. He does eventually die to Xin Zhao though, and Xin Zhao might be able to go after Caitlyn if Caitlyn makes a mistake, but she looks like she's maintaining her distance. And just as I mentioned that, she steps up, Xin Zhao goes in and finishes her off. But yeah, So with Nashers into Runans into a M-Tome, you will hit a spike where you convert those items into AP, and then you can start bursting people down with with your with your W and popping your blight stacks, right? So this basically means that you are spiking on 2 items, right? Whereas if you go for the build, the Terminus first item build, you will only spike at 3 items when you complete your Riftmaker, right? So that takes longer, right? So that's obviously no good. So as a result, I think this build is superior to the other build, but not by a mile. It's just by a little bit. As Leona now getting caught out by the bubble, but they're in the tower, so we can't really get the kill onto them. But you can see Varus is still a pretty strong champion. Of course, he did just get nerfed in 6.2E, but still, again, still a pretty strong champion. And here, Master tries to flash in to steal the dragon, but ends up flashing into 4 people and donating a free kill to me. Now Leona is caught in the pit, has to flash out, blowing her flash as well. She doesn't have Hex Splash, so without her flash, she's a lot lower of a threat, so she cannot really engage onto us very easily. And here, everybody's rotating to the Herald, so it's just me and the Caitlyn here. Now I'm thinking I can kill the Caitlyn here. I launch my arrow into the full stack Caitlyn. She somehow lives on 1 HP. I think this is really unlucky there, because I honestly thought that would be a pretty free kill, but unfortunately that was not the case. However, this does force her to base though, which then allows me to take the tower. Now honestly, obviously if I killed her, I would have taken the tower anyway, so that's just a net loss in terms of a kill. However, just getting the tower is at least a consolation prize for missing out on the kill, giving us first tower of the game, and of course giving us an injection of gold. So look at the goal situation right now. Me and Master Yi are kind of tight in terms of goal and having the most goal in the game. I have my 1.5 items completed already. Of course, as I said, it's 2 items plus 1 M-Tome for the spike. Master Yi going for a collector first item, a really strong early game there. And of course, Master Yi is a pretty hard champion to deal with, especially if your team lacks CC, which my team doesn't have the most CC in the world, but not exactly no CC. So here we're going back to lane, going back to the farming. And we spot Leona roaming over to the mid lane. Now we don't want to go mid lane because there's already 2 people at mid lane, so we have to compete with them for farms. Instead, I'm just going to stay here and continue on collecting farm. Now, ideally, we do want to take over mid lane and have Kassadin come top, but most of the time mid laners don't really rotate to the other lanes, which makes it a little bit difficult. Now I'm pretty sure Leona saw me here, but I'm going to slowly walk into the lane anyways. And run straight into a Morgana root, which is not really a big problem since there's no real follow-up to the root. And of course I had cleanse ready if Leona decides to follow up on that engage. So here I believe I have enough gold to complete Runan's Hurricane. Of course, pretty major spike on that 2-item spike. And then I'm going to take the Hex Gate out to attempt to collect the red buff, which I am able to get because Kassadin doesn't steal it. Thank you very much for that. Now we're trying to make a play down in the bot lane, but it's Leona and Set, right? Not the easiest targets to kill. So I'm, regardless, going to ult the Leona. Pull comes in, Leona's taking a ton of damage, she goes down to Darius. Set decides to try to ult backwards into my team, which doesn't really make sense, and we're actually able to collect the 2 kills with the Herald charge. We're going to get the tower, and since no one is actually coming to stop us and we are like literally a 5-man unit, we can actually just keep going because at most a team fight is going to start here, and we're 5 men strong, and so we should be able to be pretty good in the fight because it's going to be 5v3. However, the Herald and the minions are gone. We can't really push the tower, and there's nothing much to really do, so there's no point over forcing and then having the enemy team respawn and then catch us out. So we're going to instead just get a reset, getting the Fiendish Codex, which this is now going to convert my first 2 items into AP. So now we have hit our spike. You can see basically 9 minutes into the game, not already at the point where we want to be. And a huge wave has accumulated in the top lanes. And I can see that arrow does very little damage because we no longer have the AD, which causes the arrow to do more damage. We now need to really use those blight stacks to really do damage. Of course, with AP Varus, the damage all really comes from you popping your blight stack. So it's very important to hit your ult, very important to stack up the blight before you cast your spells. If you just poke someone with your Q, they're not going to take a lot of damage since of course your Q scales off of AD, which now you don't really have very much of since all your items are now giving you AP instead of AD. So here Master Yi almost getting caught up by the wave. Actually does semi get caught up because he gets zoned off, but Leona is still here and we cannot really do very much to the Master Yi. Now here we do have the spawn of the dragon. However, our entire team is on vision on the other side of the map. So I realize there's no point contesting the dragon here, and we're just going to give it to the enemy team. Honestly, dragon is no real big deal to give if you can get something else in return, but I don't really think the 3 people on my team really got anything crucial, and instead what they're getting is into a fight. So we're trying to rotate over to help out our team. Make sure they don't die with Baron spawning in 10 seconds, right? That's going to give the enemy team a free Baron, and we definitely don't want that. In fact, we want to get the Baron for ourselves. So for like the second time in the game, we're all together, and maybe this could be an opportunity to sneak Baron. Baron sneaks are really easy when Baron is like super squishy. Set flashes away in fear. I'm not sure he needed to flash away there. I don't think I was going to be killing him there. But anyways, now Darius is getting collapsed on. Master Yi is doing the blue buff. And we're seeing if we can get a free pick onto the set, which should be the case, right? We should be able to get a free pick onto him here. Like so, Darius ults him for no reason, and his ult doesn't go on cooldown because I think that they changed it at some point, and his ult no longer goes on cooldown if he doesn't actually hit the ult. Anyways, this allows us to now start off with the Baron with numbers advantage. Leona on the other side of the map as well. And Morgana and Caitlyn completely distracted. Master Yi, no idea where he is, but we're going to secure it before he comes near. And we're going to get off the resets and complete the Riftmaker. So now obviously on 3 items, we're going to be really, really strong. And Varus does have those like team fights where he just gets 1 kill, gets the I mean, I like to call it a reset because you get attack speed from it, a little bit like Jinx, where you get the reset and you just start unloading on the enemy team. So now with the Baron, we want to look to push, and at the minimum, we need to break open this mid lane tower, right? This mid lane tower has been standing for way too long, and this really opens up the map. We've gotten the side lane towers already, so I'm trying my best to push in the mid lane, but my team is very uncoordinated. Darius is going to side lane, Cassidy has backed, and we're not going to be able to push the mid lane tower like that with the 3 of us. So now I'm kind of just waiting for my wave, waiting for my team. There's not a lot that I can really do here. And I'll just like to talk about how Varus, I think, is still a very, very strong champion. I think I underrated him a lot when he first got reworked because I felt like the on-hit build wasn't very strong. I felt crit wasn't really strong, but I just wasn't building AP. Turns out AP is the best build for Varus. Who would have thunk? But that is indeed the case. So I was just building him wrong. Now here looks like a fight's gonna break out very soon. Everybody's congregated at the same place, and you know when that happens, a fight is gonna happen sooner or later. Engage comes in from the Leona. Master Yi coming into the back line here. But somehow actually managed to teleport back away from the fight, which was really strange. I guess he must have killed a minion or something. But here you can see while we're forcing the mid lane tower, the minion waves on the side lanes are actually knocking on the tier 2 towers of the enemy team. And they're doing significant damage to those towers. So the enemy team is going to be forced to go to the side lane to defend, which now finally gives us a window to hit the mid lane tower and destroy it, finally breaking open the map. So with that done, Baron of course has already run out. Dragon's coming up in 40 seconds, and there's not a lot to do at the moment. Wave comes out from Nami, doesn't actually hit anybody. Morgana had the black shield on and wouldn't have really hit her anyways. Or if it hit her, it wouldn't have mattered anyways, I guess is the more appropriate thing to say. Now, we can see Master Yi is the most fed person on their team, so I'm actually picking up a stasis, because if he goes onto me, I can stasis and buy time for my team to peel him off me or to kill him, would be even better. But I think stasis is very important in this game, and actually because there's so much shielding on the enemy team, with the set, with the Leona gargoyles, things like that, right? So here, anyways, we're gonna go in, and Master Yi is whacking me, and he actually one-shots me before I even press the stasis. Now, I could have pressed the stasis if I spammed it, but I thought that I could kill set and then stasis, but Master Yi just kills me so fast, I wasn't even expecting it, and I end up going down. 4 people on my team die, and leaving only Nami left alive. But what I was gonna say just now is that since there's shielding on set with gargoyles and his W. We have Leona shielding on the gargoyles, and then we'll of course have Morgana's back shield as well. I decide to actually build not Serpent's Fang. I decide to build Ocean's Trident as my next item, just because there isn't any anti-shielding. There is anti-shielding on Xin Zhao on my team, and he doesn't apply it very easily to the entire enemy team, unfortunately, because he's very single target focused. So I decide to take it upon myself to build anti-shielding. And I think anti-shielding is just a very insane item if the situation calls for it. Like in this case, like having anti-shielding here is so insane, just because of the shielding on the enemy team and the fact you can remove so much shields just by buying that item. And it's not a very expensive item, only 2600 gold. So here, Set and Leona are trying to push in the lane. I'm trying to defend the tower here. I can see my spells are not doing too much damage. Auto attack still definitely doing some damage here. You can see the entire enemy team rotating down slowly but surely. So it's a fight we want to take slow. We don't want to overcommit into this fight. Arguably my positioning here is not very good, but I am getting off a lot of damage onto them. Now somehow Set W does no damage against me, which is pretty strange. Mastery gets destroyed by Kassadin, and this is the green light to go. Right, so we flash forward with the ulti. Take out a couple of people. Leona now on the run. Leona goes down. Only Caitlyn left alive. And I don't think we need to chase the Caitlyn. Now, unfortunately, Xin Zhao is like 1 HP, so it's a little bit hard to do Baron. But Kassadin is starting it out, so I'm gonna go help Kassadin, and we only need Xin Zhao to come in for the smite, or just it should be fine. I don't think Caitlyn's gonna be able to steal the Baron. We should be all right. I think Xin Zhao just ulted the Baron for damage, but anyways, we secure the Baron. Caitlyn runs straight into me, and we just need to hit her with the arrow, and she's gone. Of course, popping all of those blight stacks. And yeah, I think she knew we were doing it, but I don't think she should have come to contest. That's a classic, like, you can't really do anything about it, but you're just gonna go there anyway because you know the enemy team is doing it to see if you can get a 1% chance that you just randomly launch a Q and get the Baron. Don't think that's gonna happen majority of the time. And now we complete our anti-shielding, and now we're going to go for Twin Guard as a last item just for the extra defensive capability. Now at this point, it's mainly the matter of not getting caught out by really anyone, like whether it's the Leona, the Set, or the Morgana, and of course the biggest threat, Master Yi. We get rooted. We don't have cleanse, but it's alright. There's no real follow-up. We're getting burnt alive by the Morgana puddle there, though. Master Yi really the only one we gotta care about. Stasis at the ready. This time I'm gonna pop the Stasis the moment I see him and not give him the chance to kill me. He is on vision in the top lane though, so we are relatively safe for now. We're gonna just raid his bot side jungle, not give him anything. Now it's only Caitlyn defending this tier 2 tower, so we're just gonna actually take it for free. Now there's another tier 2 tower to contest at the other side of the map. Now here Leona hits a couple of CCs on me. I'm gonna have to ult just to peel, and then I'm gonna quickly pop the stasis so Mastery doesn't kill me, and then rejoin the fight afterwards. Now unfortunately we're losing the fight at the moment, and I kind of need a front line to be able to DPS safely. Enemy team decides to go defend their tower instead, so in the end nothing too much really happens. Darius dies in trade for Leona. Now here the Elder Dragon is coming up in 5 seconds. I take the gate to come over to the Elder, mainly to deny the enemy team the usage of the gate if they happen to be on the wrong side of the map. Now the enemy team is slowly making their way over to contest. Could be a little bit iffy. Thankfully Morgana doesn't aim the puddle at the correct position, so no chance of a steal there. I cannot tell you how many times I've lost an objective to Morgana's puddle because of the Liandry's percent health damage just randomly secures the objective. I honestly kind of semi-thought that would happen here, but thankfully it doesn't, and my team is able to secure the objective without issue. And here I'm able to complete my Twin Guard, basically making me full build. And with the Twin Guard, hopefully I can survive if Mastery goes on top of me and I don't have Stasis. And of course now we also have the Elder. No Baron is up though, so one of the mini problems that can kind of happen in these kind of games is sometimes you get Elder but there's no Baron up, right? Then after you contest Baron, and then so one team gets Baron, and then Elder is up again if the game hasn't yet ended, and then Baron and Elder just gets desynced, and you never have the Baron plus Elder combo, right? Because the killer combo is just Baron plus Elder. You push in with the Baron, they can't fight you because of the Elder, and then you just end the game, or you just kill them and then you end the game, right? But now with the desync, it's a little bit difficult. Now you can see Baron's coming up in 15 seconds, so we do have like a 40-second overlap or so of Elder, which will help us secure the Baron. But by the time we get the Baron, we're not going to have Elder anymore, so kind of still the same issue. However, this Elder does help us to basically guarantee securing Baron, because of course if the enemy team contests, they're going to have to deal with the Elder buff. And we're gonna flashing in, trying to steal. This time puts the Paul at the correct position. Doesn't get the steal though, and ends up paying the price for it. Now Master Yi trying to clear the mid lane to prevent us from pushing, but we can just push on other lanes instead, which is what we're doing here, pushing in the bot lane. Elder's dropping off in 15 seconds, and we're gonna try to use that last 15 seconds to just push all the way in, dissuade them from taking a fight. Now Master Yi on vision pushing the top lane. Leona stun comes in. We're going to secure the tower, ult the Leona for the kill with the Elder right before it drops off. 1000 damage from set punch, but it doesn't actually matter. We get all the kills here, and only Master Yi is left alive. Don't think he can 1v5, so this should be fine unless my team kind of completely trolls under the Nexus. He tries to go in, pops the stasis. He's not going to survive, and we're going to just easily kill him right there, and then we can secure the game. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.